the top tonight on Fox 5, the final debate showdown in the race for the White House. President Trump and Democratic candidate Joe Biden making their last national appeal to undecided voters.
This was the last time the two will square off face-to-face before Election Day. Tonight's new debate rules, specifically muting the microphone, seemed to pay off. The interruptions kept to a minimum. It did not stop the president and former Veep from attacking each other's records.
And viewers weighing in right now on our Fox 5 Live Insta poll. Which candidate had the stronger performance during this final presidential debate? And you can see right now the president with 61% of the votes believing that he had the stronger performance on this second and final debate. And of course, you can join in by voting on our Fox 5 DC app or on our website, fox5dc.com. We'll check back in with those results.
Meanwhile, other top stories right now, a day after the FBI warned about election interference involving Iran, we're now learning Russian hackers targeted state and local government networks in the U.S. Data was stolen from at least 2 servers. It doesn't mention any of the specific victims targeted. There's no information that any of that data has been compromised.
Terrifying clouds of smoke blocking out the sky in parts of northern Colorado as firefighters race to gain ground against that massive wildfire. The East, troublesome fire burning over 125,000 acres near the Rocky Mountain National Park. Windy weather, dry conditions, and dead timber helping to fuel that rapid spread. Hundreds of people forced to evacuate.
A Stafford County woman will spend the next 51 years in prison for the murder of her husband. Lisa Bardosh pleaded guilty to first-degree murder charges. She admitted to pouring gasoline on her husband, Scott, and setting him on fire back in May of 2017. And the FDA approving the first drug treatment for coronavirus, remdesivir, can now be given to people aged 12 and older who are in the hospital. Results from an NIH study show it can reduce recovery by at least 5 days. The drug was authorized for emergency use in the spring, and it was given to President Trump after he tested COVID positive.
Now back to our top story, the final presidential debate with 12 days left until Election Day. President Trump and former Vice President Joe Biden striking a different tone tonight. The interruptions few and far between, but there were still some fireworks. Fox 5's Tom Fitzgerald live tonight at the White House with a recap of this political war of words. Tom?
Hey, Marina, a dramatically different debate tonight for the second and final meeting of the two presidential candidates. Look, when the president stepped on that stage tonight, he was the one that had a majority of the pressure on him. The president has been trailing in the polls throughout. He is trailing in a lot of the battleground states. The president needed to stick the landing today, and his campaign tonight thinks that he did just that. We didn't have to wait long for fireworks. They came early on in this, and the subject was COVID-19 and the Trump administration's response to the pandemic.
More and more people are getting better. We have a problem that's a worldwide problem. This is a worldwide problem. But I've been congratulated by the heads of many countries on what we've been able to do.
If you hear nothing else I say tonight, hear this. Anyone who's responsible for not taking control, in fact, not saying I take no responsibility initially, anyone who's responsible for that many deaths should not remain as President of the United States of America.
Things didn't get any friendlier as the two moved on to the issue of election security and specifically Russia's continued interference in the U.S. elections in the 2020 election. The former vice president, pushing the president on why he has not challenged Vladimir Putin directly on this type of interference.
I don't know why he doesn't do it, but it's worth asking the question. Why isn't that being done? Any country that interferes with us will, in fact, pay a price because they're affecting our sovereignty.
There has been nobody tougher to Russia. Between the sanctions, nobody tougher than me on Russia. Between the sanctions, between all of what I've done with NATO, I've got the NATO countries to put up an extra $130 billion, going to $420 billion a year.
Later on, the president tried to push back on Biden, getting into stories about Hunter Biden, the former vice president's son. Biden, in turn, returned fire, questioning the president's taxes and bank accounts overseas.
I think you owe an explanation to the American people. Why is it? Somebody just had a news conference a little while ago who was essentially supposed to work with you and your family, but what he said was damning. And regardless of me, I think you have to clean it up.
I have not taken a penny from any foreign source ever in my life. We learned that this president paid 50 times the tax in China, has a secret bank account with China, does business in China, and in fact is talking about me taking money?
There was a Mute-Butin at work tonight, but it didn't appear to be needed. Both candidates stuck to their allotted time. President heads to Florida tomorrow. The former vice president, will give a speech in Delaware. We're live at the White House tonight.
All right, let's get one more check on that Fox 5 Live Instant poll. Which candidate had the stronger performance during this final presidential debate? And still, the president holding the lead with 60% of you voting, considering that he had that stronger performance. Again, you can vote on our website, fox5dc.com, or our Fox 5 DC News app. New tonight, we are taking a look at what some of the region's largest school districts have planned for in-person learning. Fox 5's Evan Lambert has this story from Northwest.
Plans are different across school districts, but here's what you need to know about the school systems who've made the most recent updates to their plans to get some students back in the classrooms.
Our mission is to get young people back into our schools who need it.
In D.C., Chancellor Louis Farabee emphasized the DCPS plan to get the most vulnerable students in pre-K through 5th grade back into live in-person classes. That starts November 9th. Over the next 3 weeks, D.C. will phase in other students who will continue virtual learning, but from inside a classroom and with supervision from an adult. DCPS also announced it would offer rapid COVID tests to anyone with symptoms. Over in Montgomery County, in-person learning is further off. MCPS does not have a board-approved plan for bringing students back into the building at the moment, but hopes to get one passed next month. The goal is to bring students into buildings for the second semester in February, with some small groups, special education, and English learners possibly even earlier. And finally, to the Commonwealth, where Wednesday night, Prince William County Schools announced pre-K and kindergarten students are expected back November 10th. More grades will be phased in during January, and eventually even high school students can come back by early February. The district does have some small groups already learning in schools. And it's not clear what area school districts will do as far as rolling back their reopening plans. That just happened in Boston after a spike in that city's positivity rate. Back to you.
For the first game of the 2020 season, some University of Maryland football players will be making statements about the fight for racial justice. In the game against Northwestern, players will be allowed to replace the names on their jerseys with expressions of solidarity, including equality, unity, respect, justice, and empathy. Coach Mike Locksley also said today the team will deliver when they face the Northwestern Wildcats.
Obviously, first games are always kind of a little jittery there, but I think the confidence that I've seen and how they've approached it during practice, that I anticipate them to be able to execute it the way we want it done in the game.
The expressions, by the way, were created by student athletes, reflecting the department's commitment to social justice. The teams face off this Saturday at Ryan Field. Coming up here, the response from county officials over a social media video that allegedly shows an election judge filling out someone's ballot. We'll tell you the story behind the video. But first, Sue is up late with us.
Hi, Jim. I'll tell you what, it's a little easier to be up late on these warm summer-like days. It was 80 degrees today in D.C. We do have some cooler days ahead, but guess what's back tonight? Yeah, the fog. We'll get you ready for your Friday morning and look ahead to the weekend when we come right back.